I call to order the December 2014 legislative meeting of the Borough Council. Please stand and join me for the pledge of allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for joining us. For those of you at home, we have started a bit late. That was because we had a presentation of the proposed 2015 budget, and it went a few minutes over time. All right, so now we have the housekeeping matters. We have approval of the minutes. We have two sets of minutes. One is for our workshop meeting of November 6th of this year. Do I hear a motion to approve those minutes as submitted?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of our workshop of November 6th as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor of adopting the November 6, 2014 workshop meeting minutes as submitted, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes. The second set of minutes is from our November 20, 2014 council meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve those minutes as submitted?
Make a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
Second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of adopting the November 20, 2014 council meeting minutes as submitted, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Motion passes. Before we proceed to public comment and privilege of the floor, it is my duty to announce that this council held executive session after our last workshop meeting, and we discussed a personnel matter. All right, we now come to that point of the evening where we invite the public to approach the microphone if they have anything they wish to discuss. This is called public comment and privilege of the floor. We have less than a full house here tonight, but perhaps we do have someone here who wishes to address council.
Letitia Jevons, 216 North Monroe Street. My question is, in the budget there are two grants, one for the 3rd Street Bridge, one for stormwater. Is there any overlap between those two grants? And second of all, if there is not, will the stormwater studies that the grant in the budget is for 2015 is for take into account the impact of losing the trees and planting just lawn? Because I know that trees can absorb a lot more stormwater than just a little patch of grass.
So the answer to the first question is no, there's no overlap. And I believe the answer to the second is no as well. But I will defer to the borough engineer.
That's correct.
Mr. Johnson confirms that it will not address that aspect. All right, anybody else wish to address council at this time? There being nobody else present. There are no other takers. We'll then proceed to the engineer's report. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you and good evening. Engineer's report summary for November 2014. Justice Sucre completed the overlay of the streets. We're in the process of getting the closeout documents and the paperwork required to get things completed and turned in for this year. No land developments. Capital project Scootman Park moved forward. This past Monday, the pedestrian bridge was lifted in place, and they are in the process of completing that. I do expect the contractor to be basically substantially complete by next week. He's got very few items left to do. We walked the site I'm looking at Mr. Smith Tuesday, and gave with Mr. DeRosa and gave the contractor some items to clean up and touch up through there. Outside of that, that is primarily it for November.
Are there any questions for Mr. Johnson? I have a question. Who buys your towels?
Most of them I do. Do you like this one?
I do. It's very seasonal.
Thank
It is
you.
December and a week away from the big night.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to the solicitor, Mr. Scott.
Thank you. I do want to bring to council's attention a change in the law regarding your elected tax collector. Starting in 2015, anybody who runs for tax collector will have to file a criminal background report with their nominating provisions. which is, one presumes for purposes of trying to not have embezzlers and the like run for tax collector. And elected tax collectors will have to take a course that the state will put on before they can assume their duties. So it's not going to affect the incumbent tax collector, but whoever runs next year and is elected and starts serving in 2016 will be subject to these requirements.
All right, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Scott? Hearing none, we'll then proceed to the mayor for his report.
Okay, let's see, there were 662 complaints during the month of November. There was one reported burglary during the month on 11/7, approximately 3 p.m. Officers responded to a residence on the 500 block of North Orange Street for a burglary that was discovered. Investigation revealed sometime between the hours of 8 a.m. and 3 p.m., unknown actors entered the residence through an unsecured rear door and kicked the second and second floor bedroom, which was separately secured by a hasp and a large lock. Taken from the bedroom were 2 firearms and a shotgun. Investigation is continuing. The chief reminds everyone to, during this time, stay vigilant and safe, and you call 911. He mentioned that. Paul mentioned it again. Probably will forget what I said. And the most significant event that we have had, not event, but I would say tragedy, that we've had in this town in the last 30 years, I would say is the armed robbery that we had on December 10th, 2014. On that day, 2 masked men, I'm assuming everyone saw it in the paper and got calls and emails about it, so I know everyone's aware of it. But 2 masked and hooded men armed with handguns entered the Citizens Bank and robbed same undetermined amount of money. Both robbers not only displayed the weapons, but pointed same at several employees as well as 2 customers that walked in during the event. According to witnesses and victims, they were described, and the actors exited a rear door. I will say this, the police department immediately called, forgot her name, I guess. The police department immediately called all the other banks in town to let them know that this happened. One of them happened to take the bag that had the dye in it, so that exploded partway out. But when something like this happens, adjustments have to be made. We really need to study this and figure out how we prevent this from happening in the future. And also, we've talked a lot about response time. I mean, we have a great response time, but it's a lot different than when we used to have dispatchers. It goes here, there, and then to the police department. So I think that has to be looked at also. So if anybody have any comments on that or want to ask me any questions about that particular incident, because it's one of the most upsetting that we've had here and most serious. So are there any questions on that? Or
Doesn't appear there are any questions at this time.
okay. All right, and with that, well, I just saw Monica come in, and I was going to say something. Are you saving it for your report, or she just missed the discussion? I think she put on an event that was just tremendous. So I'd just like to say that.
Thank you.
I know you were going to say more, but you want to...
Well, no, I was gonna see if maybe, because it's the holiday season, the president will let us go out of order and let Monica stand back up. And, it was an outstanding parade. I have heard nothing but great things from a ton of people. I guess some ways it's sad that it was a Sunday afternoon, because there was a ton of people in the stores that were open. I saw a lot of people in too, and it was held at a different time when more of the retailers were open. I think they would have been pleasantly surprised with the amount of people who would have flocked into their stores. So maybe we can look at that for next year. But with that, if you don't mind, Mr. President, I'd like Ms. Moore from Kenny's Flowers to make a couple of comments. She was the spearhead of the parade for this year.
I do not mind. In fact, I encourage it, but you must take a cookie.
And
Only after I'm done if I give a really good report.
We'll be the judge of that. Sure,
I
we
have so
will.
many cookies at my house, I would put the diabetics to shame. Well, thank you. Thank you for all the kudos. I have heard nothing but great things about this parade. So I'm still on cloud 9 because I still have people that I see on the street. I'm still getting emails, I'm getting messages on my phone. from people from all walks of life that are just exuberant about this whole event because it was a brand new, fresh event. It's something we've never had in media before. And I hope it's something that will eventually rival Westchester's parade, which is ginormous. And I know that we could never get to that point just for the size of the town. But we can come close. And I think we did a pretty good job for the first time around. I was pleasantly surprised to see how everything kind of flowed. And, you know, when you have everything in your head and you try to transfer it to real life time and everything worked out really well. Of course, with any new event, we have a couple little things that obviously we will need to tweak. We're going to have the committee is going to have like a recap meeting this Sunday. And we're going to bring all our notes to the table and see where we can improve on things for next year. But there's definitely going to be a next year because everybody's looking forward to it already. And even though it was just the parade, just in the spirit of fun, I work in retail and I see too many people being just very stressed out. Not just because of the season, just life in general. Every day I see people come in the store and they're at me and you can see that they're just so tense and life is really fast paced for everybody. And I thought this would just be a great event to just kind of take it down, just do it for the fun of it. And people had a great time, not just for the parade, but the run, which was hysterical. I don't know how many of you saw this run, or I don't know, Brian, were you in the run at all, or did you?
I wasn't in the run.
You didn't?
Next year.
Well, next year we
Heart
expect
was
you.
willing, but the feet were too weak.
I was running to get out of the way.
Well, if you did stay and watch the run, it was hysterical. The way that people were dressed up and had a great time. Families came out with little children who just again were gleeful in being able to get dressed up and be silly. And even though it was just a fun part, it was also for a good cause. They got over 200 different articles for the food bank. We had over 500 people for just the run. They collected so much food. There were about 3 carloads full of food. We collected one of those brand new 2015 Chevy Silverado trucks with a giant bed, over 100 toys for Toys for Tots. So although it was a fun event for everybody, it still was a good event to help out other people that maybe would have been able to enjoy the season as much. I just found out from the food bank tonight that they bought over 100 hams, which was a kind of a special treat for the people at the food bank. And that was all because of the money. There were actually monetary donations made online as well for the race. So it was for a good cause all around. And people just had a great time. And I hope everybody liked the string bands. I mean, we brought the mummers to media.
Yeah.
So there's quite a bit of people to thank. I'm not going to stand here and go down the entire list, but I would like to name the committee members, people that were very instrumental in helping us out to pull all this together. We had Billy Lambert from Lambert's Garage, who, if you know Billy, he was a total surprise, never missed a meeting, and was so into this whole parade. Dean Keys. We had Megan Hill, who was funny, she's my hairdresser. But without Megan, we would have not had the reindeer. This was her baby. And she brought them to town, and people they could not believe. Even the mayor had to go up and see for himself.
And take
They
pictures
were
with
alive.
them.
And take pictures with them. Right? Trish, who is a partner of Billy Lambert's, she helped out with a lot of things. Laura, I don't remember her last name either. Just doing little things like putting the hats over the meters to let people know that there was no parking. And we got all the hats back except for 2. That was 4 dozen, and I really thought that everybody would take one. And everybody was very respectful of it. We had about 15 different sponsors coming from Springfield to Concordville that wanted to be part of the parade. My family for putting up with all this for months and months. I have to thank them for that. I definitely want to thank council for having the faith in me and our committee to let us do this and see how far we could get with it. Without your support, we really thank you for that. The police, who were kind of blindsided by the amount of people that showed up because there were well over 4,000 people that came to this. And for the first time around, again, it was a finger crossing and hoping kind of a thing. We had no numbers to base it on, so the police kind of just went into this blindly, but they did a really good job in containing the people and the children, getting them out of the streets and keeping everybody safe. So that's another thing that we're going to work on, tweaking a little bit.
Well, we look forward to the event next year.
Okay, all right.
So let's see if we can have an even better event next year. This year is going to be wonderful.
Well, it's going to be better because we're starting in January. I'll see you here with my gathering in January. So it gives us, we did this in 4 months this past year. So imagine what we could do in at least 9.
So I think you've earned not just one, but 2 cookies.
And one for each hip.
Those little
But
houses
thank you.
need to be there all holiday period. I thought they were, when I drove in and I parked, I
It
realized
just made it so festive. And it just, that was the parade.
it was really, really wonderful.
Thank you. Oh, and I'm sorry, I have to thank.
Oh, I was going to do that, okay.
Thank this gentleman here for stepping up and playing our Santa and having his lovely bride be Mrs.
Thought he was really Santa.
He is.
I was watching on TV, I figured I better get up here. Not about that, about the...
About the job, yeah, job description. Yeah. Can I make one more?
Thank you very, very much.
While I'm still on my report,
Okay.
I'd like to make one other comment. This was an outside-the-box idea, and we've had quite a few ideas. Bob Diamond and I, between the two of us over the last 20-some years, have had a lot of ideas, and most of them don't work. Most of them don't work. But we never share with everybody what doesn't work, do we, Bob?
Not at all.
But we've had some that worked, and this was outside the box. We didn't know if it was going to work. We didn't know. You probably know. We all did. But you know, that's what we encourage in this town: is do something different. You know, Anthony came up with Dining Under the Stars. It took 3 years to convince us, but that was an outside the box idea. And Restaurant Week was an outside the box idea. So that's, you know, sometimes they work.
We definitely need more of that. We need to have people step up to the plate and come up with ideas and be allowed to follow through with them. That's where unfortunately the business authority kind of falls a little short with that, because when I presented this to them, I was kind of shut down. That this was never going to work, and you know,
I didn't want to really
you're
leave
not
that.
going to know if it's going to work unless you try it. If you fail, you fail.
Yeah.
But you've got to be able to follow through and just try new things out. We have so many events. I've been in this town over 35 years, and I've seen these events for 35 years, and they're so stale at this point in time. There's nothing ever new. Nobody's ever tweaking anything, and it makes me kind of sad, because there are people out there that do have ideas that really want to follow through. And unfortunately, they're kind of pushed to the back of the room and said, okay, fine, whatever, and never really allowed to express those ideas and try to fulfill them.
Well, we encourage them to come forward just as you have. All right.
Thank you.
All
Have a good
right.
holiday.
Thanks, you too. Merry Christmas. Enjoy my cookie.
Anyone have, Mr. Mayor, have you concluded your report?
Now, I was just trying to think of another comment about Bob Diamond and running over here after he hears his job description is going to change as a tax collector. So I admire how quickly you got here, Bob.
Thank you.
And by the way, great job again as Santa Claus. Helping.
So those people help her, right?
All right. So, Mr. Mayor, unless there's something you wish to add?
No.
Any questions for the mayor? We'll then proceed to the council committee reports, Recreation and Health. Councilman Boyer.
Thank you. I have a few announcements from Rec. In keeping with new things, the Christmas party that the Rec Commission did for the first time this year was a success. It was on the same day as the parade. There were upwards of 40 kids. Santa also showed up to that party. Cookies, hot chocolate, each child got a gift. So that was a success, and hopefully that will be continued next year as well. The Rec Commission is currently looking to upgrade the tot lot. They're going to use some of their funds to place a new piece of equipment. So if any of the parents out there have any suggestions, they'd be happy to take your suggestions. They're also looking to add some things to the community playroom up on the 3rd floor. So again, any parents out there that use the playroom, have any ideas, you can contact Paula, and they will certainly take your ideas. The family dance, which wasn't held last year, but hopefully will be happening this year. They're currently looking for a date sometime maybe in March, so keep posted for that as well. And then one small item of business, there is a new member to be appointed to the rec board. So I would like to make a motion that we appoint Andrea McIntyre to the rec board to serve out the term which expires December 31st, 2019.
Second?
Motion is made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the appointment of Andrea McIntyre to the Recreation Board for a term that expires December 31st, 2019, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
And that concludes my report.
Are there any questions for Councilman Boyd? Hearing none, we'll then move to Harbor Historic and Media Business Authority. Councilwoman Lisa Johnson.
Thank you. I have a couple housekeeping items as well. Unfortunately, we need to consider the resignation of Harry Havnuvian from the Media Business Authority. Harry is one of the business people in town, owns the bike shop, fabulous shop. My husband loves it. But unfortunately, he has time commitments that doesn't allow him to continue on the MBA board, so I'd make a motion to accept the resignation of Harry Havnuvian from the MBA.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion?
Harry's a good guy. He's gonna be short, sorely missed.
I'll call the question that all those who favor accepting the resignation of Mr. Havnuvian from the Media Business Authority, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
Okay, and the other one is to make a motion to accept the appointment of Charlene Mulholland to the Media Business Authority's board. Charlene is also a business person in town, and I met her last week at the MBA meeting, and she's very excited to join the board, and brings a lot of enthusiasm. So I make that a motion.
Second?
Motion is made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those who favor the appointment of Charlene Mulholland to the Media Business Authority for the unexpired term ending December 31st, 2015, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes. Ms. Mulholland is the owner of Sorrel.
Okay, as far as my reports, HARB did not meet this month, so I have no report. The Historical Society had no meeting this month either, but they did have the house tour, so I'll be anxious to hear about that in January when we meet again. The Media Business Authority met this month and talked a lot about the accomplishments over 2014, and also, which I'll go through in a minute, but also the focus for 2015, which is to be more technology oriented, to get the word out, take advantage of social media and those kinds of things to help get the word out about various and sundry things. And the results of 2014, just to name a few, that Dining Under the Stars drew over 120,000 people to media. Oh my goodness. Over the 21 Wednesday nights that the event took place. So over 115,000 guests enjoyed dinner at 21 of our wonderful restaurants, bringing in close to $3 million in revenue for the season. Those are fabulous numbers. Media's New Year's Eve ball drop was recognized on Visit Pennsylvania, visitpa.com, the list of 20 best ways to celebrate the holidays in PA towns, as being number 13 of places to be to start the new year. So we're lucky number 13. The other comments that I have here are America's Music Festival Series in Media began with the debut of the State Street Blues Stroll in 2001. It's very popular, and the series grew to include Jazz by Night celebration and Americana Roots Ramble, both in their 13th years this coming year. Broad appeal of our past 38 events in the music series over the past 14 years has attracted nearly 80,000 visitors to media. Proceeds of the events support local charities and music foundations. A just as importantly, they showcase the positive effect on media when the popular restaurants, night spots, local shops, businesses, and residents come together as a community. We can also proudly boast that these are the only events of their kind in the Delaware Valley. And the MBA held the 34th Annual Media Food and Crafts Festival this October. More than 45 well-stocked restaurant participants were all but out of food. As well as the edible offerings, we hosted over 80 booths for crafters, local merchants, children's activities, and nonprofit organizations. All this combined with 2 stages of live music, media entertained an estimated 7,000 happy and full guests of all ages, proving once again that media is the go-to spot for lots of family fun. Let's see here. As well as coordinating and producing these annual events, the MBA also oversees 16 different committees with focuses on everything from town promotion to technology. Add to all of this the implementation of various ongoing streetscape projects that reflect the aesthetics of our evolving and vibrant community, and it's clear to see why the Media Business Authority is, and has been for more than 30 years, a vital tool for the construction of the bright future for everybody's hometown. So that was the report on Media Business Authority. And I just have one more request I'd like to make of council, that I'm asking for feedback from the presentation that you heard at the last workshop meeting by Robin Otto. And for those of you that may not know, we the council created an ad hoc committee with a $10,000 budget this year to see how we might accomplish the goals of the comprehensive plan to achieve the vision for media. So we hired Robin Otto, and she facilitated and interviewed over 30 stakeholders of media and got a group of enthusiastic people together to meet and review the information and make recommendations. So Robin presented these recommendations to us at the last workshop meeting. So the whole point of this work is because we need to execute the comprehensive plan that we paid money to have created and updated. And we're very anxious to get busy because, as you may know, there's lots of development projects that are going on around us in Delaware County. The Grand Run Mall, the Franklin Mint, Swarthmore, Newtown Square, all these areas are making town centers. And I don't believe we should be fearful of these changes, but we should welcome this to Delaware County. But I also think we shouldn't sit on our hands, because we need to be proactive and plan for these changes so we can make the most of it and keep media proactive. So I'm recommending that we fund this work for this coming year and make the changes we need to make to keep media great. So I'm looking forward to hearing your feedback at the next workshop.
Very good.
Thank you.
Are there any questions for Councilwoman Lisa Johnson?
So make one little comment. I mean, I would encourage we have a time longer than the 10, 15 minutes that we had at workshop, because this is something that took a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of volunteers took time and effort, and I think it would be important for council to be able to drill down significantly deeper than we had the opportunity at the last workshop. So I don't know if it would be a special session of council or a Saturday afternoon type of thing, but I enjoyed what I heard, but I didn't hear enough. So I think it would be important for us to really drill down and get the details behind it. It was a teaser. So I would encourage the committee, whatever you're calling it right now, to maybe set a date and have council come and be able to really talk in depth.
Okay, that'd be great. Great.
Are there any other comments or questions for Councilwoman Lisa Johnson? Hearing none, we'll then move on to Vice President Robinson, who will deliver the report for properties, public safety, public works, and civil service.
I have a relatively short agenda this evening. As I always do, I'd like to encourage residents and non-residents of the borough to consider volunteering their time for me to the fire company as a firefighter and or a volunteer. The fire report for the month of November is as follows: fire calls 34, In the Borough, 11, Mutual Aid, 23, Light Manpower, 6, and Emergency Services, 166. The chief and all of the department want to wish everyone in the borough and the residents and owners and visitors of media a very happy and safe holiday. Before I do go into my agenda items, I would like to ask everyone in their own way to take time to remember Lieutenant Joyce Greggs of the Philadelphia Fire Department, first female firefighter to lose her life on active duty, 11-year veteran, and probably the most sad part is also a mother of 2. So in your own way, at your own time, please remember this sad loss. With regards to agenda items, a little bit more pleasant, I'd like to make a motion to approve the mass gathering permit for a group referencing Healthy Kids Running Series. It will be a 1-mile race on Saturday, the 9th of May, 2015. I know we have our fair share of races. The individual came in, met with Jeff and I, and he is a professional organizer with regards to sporting events. So this is relatively a no-brainer for him. We made, in our conversations, we discussed the fact that we have a significant amount of events and media and times closing down State Street, which sometimes can start to, even though it may benefit, but also can annoy the retailers. So what we're going to do is make sure that this race starts before the Saturday morning rush and will be completely over with. By the time most of the retailers are really opening up, it will definitely benefit the restaurants and things of that nature. Just to give a little recap on the mission statement with regards to this, because this will be the first time, even though this race is being executed in places such as Westchester, Manayunk, Harrisburg, other places within the Commonwealth. But in essence, it's an effort to combat increasing rates of childhood obesity in America. HKRS motivates children to live a healthy and active life through passive and educational fun and an introduction to the world of running. So that's something I know that you love, and maybe you can help out that day. But I think it's going to be one of these things that's going to be an annual event. The individual is extremely well organized. We'll need minimal, if any, extra police help, because we'll be able to just have rolling closures. I think it's going to be a great event. So with that, I make a motion to enter into the permit application for the event on Saturday, May 9th, 2015. Start time 7:30, complete time would be 10:30 a.m.
Second.
There's been a motion made, it's been seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those who favor approving the mass gathering permit application of the Patterson Sports Group Healthy Kids Running Series for a race, 1-mile race, to be held on the morning of May 9th, the Saturday, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes. And another example of outside the box. Thank you.
Go. Last on my agenda is ratifying free parking. I find this fascinating because the only individual that can really authorize the free parking is Santa Claus. But typical government, we have to get involved some way and have to ratify it. So I make a motion that we ratify the direction of Santa Claus to provide free parking in the Olive Street garage for the month of December. However, with the caveat, the free parking is for patrons of our retail stores and not for the employees. Santa will know that.
He knows who's naughty, who's nice.
Exactly. He knows who's naughty and he knows who's nice. So with that as any form of a motion.
Is there a second on the motion? There we go. Any discussion on the motion to ratify Santa Claus's direction? Hearing none. Call the question. All those in favor of ratifying offering free parking for the Olive Street Garage during the month of December for patrons of BD businesses, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
That concludes my report.
Any questions for Vice President Romney? Hearing none, we'll move on to Community Development Personnel and BD Arts Council. That is my portion of the agenda. First item, I have several legislative items. I will try to go through them fairly quickly. The first is for us to approve a resolution. It's number 2014, number 17. It is for Community Development Block Grants, also known as CDBG. Every year, the borough has the opportunity to participate in the CDBG process. The money is from a federal program, which is then granted, which is then sent to the counties, and the counties then accept applications for use of that money for typically projects in lower or moderate income areas. And this year, we've chosen to apply for sidewalk enhancements throughout the borough, and as a second item, ADA enhancements at Media Firehouse, a ramp on the, I guess would be the south side of the building, so that folks will be able to use the side door more easily. So I move that we approve Resolution 2014 with regard to applying for CDBG grants.
Motion's made, is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor of passing Resolution 2014-17 with regards to the Community Development Block Grant, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it.
Next item involves the 3rd Street Dam. We heard a little bit about that earlier today. Mr. Smith in his presentation about the 2015 budget. The motion here is to authorize a design reimbursement agreement with PennDOT for design of the 3rd Street Bridge. I'll try to make that, try to put some context to that. About half a year ago, we gave direction to our design engineers, Schnabel and Larson, to go forward and put together a revised proposal to PennDOT. PennDOT is paying 80% of this project, and so everything that is done in this project must meet with their approval. PennDOT has reviewed the documents, that the proposal has been sent to it by the engineers, and has approved that document, and so now we need to sign it in order for our engineers to get to work on the project. So I move that we authorize the revised design reimbursement agreement with PennDOT.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor of authorizing the revised design reimbursement agreement with PennDOT for the design of the 3rd Street Bridge, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it.
In a related matter, it's a motion here to authorize Schnabel Engineering, engineering company that is working on the dam, to proceed with the design of the 3rd Street Bridge. So this is our way of telling or asking, perhaps a better word is authorizing our engineer to go forward and start the, resume the design process. So we need to make a motion in order for that to happen. So I'm moving that we authorize Schnabel to proceed with the design of the dam.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor of approving the authorization of Schnabel Engineering to proceed with the design of the 3rd Street Bridge, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it.
At present, Mr. Smith, I think I'm probably in the ballpark here. The design is about 30%, 35% complete, somewhere in that ballpark. So this will allow Schnabel and Larson to complete the design. Preliminarily, it looks as if that design will be finished sometime in 2016. And then PennDOT will then put this out to bid, and we're hopeful that the construction of the project will begin around 2017, done somewhere around 2018. These are estimates, they can change. We can only give estimates because at this point, much of the project is out of our hand. It's in the hands of engineers and PennDOT. Next item is for a license agreement for 402 Gailey Street for parallel parking. Those of you who are unfamiliar with this area, Gailey Street below Jefferson Street is fairly steep hills, 2-lane roadway. There is one residence that faces out into Gailey Street in this area, and that residence does not have any parking. Doesn't have a driveway, doesn't have any parking out front. The owner of the building, of that home, has been using the parking lot of the apartment complex next door for quite some time. She's been notified that she's no longer able to do so, so she has nowhere to park. So she has requested that a couple of parking spaces be put in front of her home on the borough's right-of-way. In other words, we'll be paving over a certain portion of the what is now a lawn out in front of her home that would allow for parking out front of her home. This would not be specific for her, it'd be public parking, but presumably she would be using it. My recommendation is that we do so. The homeowner otherwise has nowhere to park. The license agreement is revocable at any time, and the homeowner understands that. So I move that we enter into a license agreement with the homeowner at 402 Gailey Street, subject to approval of our solicitor. The terms of which will be subject to approval of our solicitor.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to enter into a license agreement for the property of 402 Gailey Street for parallel parking within the right-of-way of the borough. All those in favor of passing or approving the agreement upon review and approval of the solicitor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Next item is also a license agreement. This involves 300 West Baltimore Avenue. This is at the corner of, or the intersection of Baltimore and Orange Streets, southwest corner. The ground floor is going to be converted into a karate studio, and that occasions a change in use, and because of the change in use, there's a requirement that it become ADA compliant. And in order for it to be ADA compliant, they are proposing that there be a ramp that will lead into the first floor. Directly across Orange Street, there is, I think it's called Lovely U. Yeah. And Lovely U is an example of that very same type of ramp. The sidewalk there is wide enough, this will not cause an impediment. So I move that we enter into a license agreement for 300 West Baltimore Avenue for the construction of an ADA ramp.
Motion is made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to enter into a license agreement for the property of 300 West Baltimore Avenue for an ADA ramp that will be.
I'll add to that motion that it would be subject to the approval of our solicitor.
Sounds like a good idea. There's been a motion to enter into a license agreement for the 300 West Baltimore Avenue for an ADA ramp upon approval or upon review and approval by the borough solicitor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it.
All right, number 5, is a motion to ratify the promotion of Chris Lambert to a full-time laborer. Mr. Lambert at present is a part-time laborer, or part-time employee, and upon recommendation, suggested that he be elevated to a full-time laborer so that we can keep good talent at home. So I make the motion that we ratify the promotion of Chris Lambert to a full-time laborer, class number 1.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to ratify the promotion of Chris Lambert to full-time laborer 1. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Last item. This is ratifying an agreement with the member of our police force, Sergeant Keith Borough. He was injured in the line of duty, and pursuant to the collective bargaining agreement, he is eligible for disability pension benefits. He is also eligible for workers' compensation benefits. There has been an agreement reached with regard to our carriers for workers' compensation as well as disability pension in order to satisfy our obligations to him. And so I make a motion that we ratify the agreement with workers' compensation and a disability pension with regard to Sergeant Keith Prorock.
Motion is made. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of ratifying the workers' compensation agreement and disability pension for Sergeant Keith Rorod, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
I have one announcement. It is with regard to the Media Borough Planning Commission. There are at present 2 open positions on the Planning Commission. I anticipate that council will take action on those, on applications or letters of interest for those positions this coming month, January, and this coming year, 2015. It's scary how quickly time flies. Anyone who is interested, please submit your letter of interest. It can simply be that, a letter in which you say, this is who I am interested, please consider me, and send that to Jeff Smith. You may do so by way of email or by fax or however it is that you wish to do it. It's a fairly simple process. It's a wonderful opportunity to take part in a very active commission in this borough. So please get those letters of interest in. Otherwise, I wish you all a happy holidays and a safe and wonderful new year. We'll move on now to Councilman Davidson, Finance, Technology, Library, and the Environmental Advisory Council.
Thank you, President Hall. First on my agenda this month is payment of bills for the month of November. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the payment of bills for the month of November in the following amounts. From the general fund, $166,053.37. From the recreation fund, $5,991.44. From the liquid fuels fund, $138,653.14. From the capital fund, $30,101.07 for a grand total of $340,799.02. So make the formal motion.
Motion is made. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those who favor the borough paying its bills like a good corporate or, I guess, corporate citizen, from the general, recreation, liquid fuels, and capital funds as outlined by Councilman Davidson, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
A couple of the items on my agenda unfortunately deserve a small explanation. We do have an item to adopt the ordinance number 1114, setting the 2015 millage rate, as I mentioned last month. Millage rate remains unchanged, 3.0 mils. It's about $1.1 million in revenues for the borough. Unfortunately, our borough manager had to take vacation and was unable to get the advertisement out in time, so we actually cannot vote on that tonight. So I'd like to announce that the Borough Council will be meeting on December 30th this month at 4:30 p.m. to specifically give enough notice to the public that we can vote on this issue. But otherwise, it's essentially what it was last year. No new taxes, as I mentioned last month. So that said, I'll move on to number 3. Similarly, our annual budget, which I'd like to thank Jeff Smith for all the hard work he put into that. It is a balanced budget. It is a total of a $12.3 million budget, of which about the majority of which is $8 million in our general fund, about $4.1 million in our capital fund for next year, $165,000 in liquid fuels, and $67,000 in our recreation fund. It is posted online, available to the public. Similarly, because of notice requirements by law, we cannot vote on that tonight, and we'll be voting that on in the meeting again on December 30th at 4:30 p.m. That is a Tuesday, I believe.
It is.
That said, moving on, I have another agenda item for the appointment of Scott Whitman to the Environmental Advisory Council. So I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Scott Whitman to the EAC for an unexpired term expiring. That's not right. 12/31/14, Jeff?
Yes, if you want, you can actually appoint him. It's an unexpired term that actually expires the end of this month. But if you'd like, you can appoint him if you give me 1 second.
Through 2019?
Yes, you can appoint him to the regular term, but I just want to confirm the number of years if you give me a second.
I think it's fine.
It would be a 3-year term.
3-year term, so that would be 2017.
Correct.
Okay, let me revise my motion. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Scott Whitman to the EAC for an unexpiring term, for a term expiring December 31st, 2017.
Second?
Motion is made and seconded.
Wait a
Any discussion on the motion?
Excuse me, so it start in December 2014 and it expires December 31st, 2017?
Starting January 1st.
They started this December.
15, 16, and 17 will be the years he serves.
So 3, I guess, is a concern that Councilman Jason's having is there's potentially a gap of a few days.
The EAC doesn't meet in December, so it doesn't matter.
There we go.
There we go. Okay.
I'm just
No,
saying.
it's good. It's
Questions?
good.
I welcome questions.
All right. Any other questions or comments before I call the motion? Then I'll call the question. All those in favor of the appointment of Scott Whitman to the Environmental Advisory Council for a term that begins January 1, 2015 and expires December 31, 2017, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Motion passes.
Thank you. Next up, another just sort of bookkeeping business. We have a postage machine, which we have a lease for. We did multiple bids for this. The lowest bid was a company called Oaks System Incorporated for a price of $147 a month for 63 months, which includes rental, full maintenance, and rate change protection. So I'd like to make a motion that we enter into a lease agreement for a postage machine with Oaks Systems Incorporated for $147 a month for 63 months.
Motion been made. Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion?
Did we look at the possibility of just going to online, use purchasing postage
Like
online?
$2
Is that okay?
It's way more expensive.
It is?
Yes,
Yes.
yes. This is clearly the staff's recommendation, best bet.
Okay.
Do it this way.
And apparently it's a very advanced machine. So I've heard.
All right, well, staff recommends it's the best bet. It's hard to say no to that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of entering into a lease agreement with Oaks Systems with regard to a postage machine, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
Okay, so as required by law every month, actually not by law, just because council told me to, I'm going to request all members of the public, if you have an iPhone or an Android device, there's this amazing app called Public Stuff. Use that app to walk around town, you see a crack in the sidewalk, you see a tree branch that needs to be cut, take a picture of it, it'll find your geolocation, tell us exactly where you are, send that to the borough and get that fixed in a jiffy. So again, the app is called Public Stuff. It's found on the Android App Store and the iOS App Store or Apple App Store. And I request anyone in town who hasn't downloaded it yet, check it out. You can also have access to our website as well. That said, one item that I would like to request council actually consider voting on the 30th meeting is we have put together a CIP, which is a capital improvement plan for the following 4 years. We obviously have worked on a borrowing, which includes a large number of items in that capital improvement plan. But what I'd like to request is the council take a look at this plan. And it's essentially a working document. It's a planning document. It's nothing bound by law that we spend the money. But what it does is, I guess, as Jeff mentioned in the previous presentation, is that we have around $4 million and change sitting in our capital reserve account. And having a CIP on record shows that we are actually actively thinking about where to spend those taxpayer dollars in the future. It is a rainy day fund, but I think it is important that we plan to allocate that money in the coming 4 to 6 years. So that document, I believe, is available on the website. Is that correct, Jeff? For the public to view. It was a document that was done with public input all this year. We would like to thank, we had a couple interns who did a lot of work on that. Obviously, Jeff Smith has done a lot of work, and the Finance Committee as well helped to put that document together. So, again, I request as an agenda item next week, in addition to the other 2 items, which for public notice have to be voted on, that we consider voting on that as well. And I would open any discussion from any of the council members now if they have anything they'd like to give feedback.
Any wish to comment?
Okay. Well, it's short notice, but again, it's a working document, and I think every year what finance would like to do is revise that document based on the wishes of council to add or remove projects.
I will note that, I'm sorry, Councilman, I will note that this document is in the process for quite some time, and in fact, there was a survey that was available through the borough website that many persons filled out and sent in. And it's a document that we as a council have seen before, so it's something with which we are familiar. All right, anybody else have any comments or questions?
I have a couple of items, sorry.
Sure.
Is this meeting open to public?
I'm sorry.
Yes, the meeting on the 30th is it's a public meeting, just like this one is. I don't believe it will be televised. It'll be upstairs in the regular conference room, but it will be a legislative meeting where we'll take legislative action.
I apologize for that interruption.
No.
Raise the hand.
So again, I mentioned CIP. I'd like to also mention that there are 2 vacancies on the library board. As those who've been paying attention know that we are undergoing a rather large renovation of the library next year, around a $3.5 to $3.8 million project. Now would be a great time to join the board. There is a vacancy for a media resident as well as an Upper Providence resident. So, as I know this is shown on cable in both media and Upper Providence,
live in one of those areas, I would express you to get interested and get involved with the library board, and it's going to be a very exciting year next year. I have no other news from the EAC. They don't meet in December, and that will conclude my report.
Are there any questions for Councilman Davidson? I have a comment. I can't think appropriately thanked Jeff Smith, our manager, for his efforts on the proposed budget. I think also, not to single anybody out as unduly, but Peter Williamson, who is our borough treasurer, is not here, was also very important as a steady hand in guiding us to that final document. And just to emphasize Ken's point, there will be a general meeting here 4:30 on the 30th for purposes of approving the budget and approving the millage rate. And I like to think of that as another opportunity for borough residents to weigh in on the document. So we are increasing your opportunities to discuss the document with us if you so choose. Anybody else have any questions or comments? All right, then we move on. Councilwoman Amy Johnson, Farmers Market, Fair Trade, and Shade Tree.
Thank you. The Media Farmers Market Committee would like to express its sincere thanks to the community for supporting the market for another successful season. Thanks to all the local businesses and museums who participate. They would love to see more local businesses and organizations participate next year and in more years to come. So thanks to the theater, they would like to also thank council for the use of the centrally located space, which has proven to be accessible to all. And they're already working to get vendors for 2015 season, and you can all mark your calendar for May 14th, 2015 for the opening day of the next market. Fair Trade, there's still a few days left to shop Fair Trade for the holiday season. Check out media businesses such as CUDA, 10,000 Villages, Earth and State, Local, Seven Stones, and 320 Market, just to name a few for Fair Trade gifts. Or you could give a gift certificate to one of our many restaurants serving select Fair Trade ingredients, such as Seven Stones Cafe, Lotus, Picasso, La Belle Epoque House, Diego's, Desert Rose, Very Fresh, and even Dunkin' Donuts and Wawa serve Fair Trade coffee. And also you could check out fairtradecampaigns.org, which has a holiday gift guide for online shopping of Fair Trade products. And Shade Tree, unfortunately, I'd like to announce the resignation of Lori and Bezzy from the Shade Tree Commission. I make a motion for that, correct? So I'd like to make a motion for the resignation of Lori and Bezzy from the Shade Tree Commission. Term expires December 31st, 2017. That's when her term would expire.
Is there a second on the motion? There is a second on the motion. Any questions or comments on the motion? I will note that Ms. Bessie has served the Shade Tree Commission well. She has moved outside of the borough, and because she has moved outside of the borough, she no longer is permitted to serve on the Shade Tree Commission. Otherwise, she would have.
Exactly.
I'll call the question. All those in favor of accepting the resignation of Lori Bessie from the Shade Tree Commission, her term expires December 31st, 2017, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
So that leaves us with two open spots for Shade Tree. So I'd like to make a motion to appoint Jean Thomas, who is a long-term resident of Media, also with a horticulture background. So I'd like to make a motion to appoint Jean Thomas to the Shade Tree Commission, term expiring when, Jeff? I don't have a...
There's two. Lori's expires on 12/31 of 17, and Mr. Rivera's is 12/31 of 18, so you could pick either one.
Okay, so term expiring 12/31/17 for Jean Thomas.
Second. The motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion?
Jean's a good choice.
Yeah. She's my name.
Yes.
Jean is she or?
She. Yes.
All right. All those in favor of appointing G. Thomas, resident of East 2nd Street, and female, to the Shade Tree Commission for a term that expires December 31st, 2017. Please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
And so I'd also like to make a motion to appoint Chris McNichol to serve on Shade Tree, term expiring December 31st, 2017. Chris also along, 18. I'm sorry, 2018. Chris is also a long-term resident with a background in horticulture as well. So.
Second. Motion's been made and it has been seconded. Any discussion?
Not too sure about this one.
Chris is a he, just so you know. He's also my husband.
Yeah. So even though he has witnessed firsthand what is involved in local government, and we perhaps have reason to question his judgment, since despite that he has decided to throw his hat in the ring. I'll call the question. All those in favor of appointing Chris McNichol to the Shade Tree Commission for a term that expires December 31st, 2018, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
Okay, thanks. That concludes my report.
Are there any questions for Councilwoman Amy Johnson? Hearing none, we will then proceed to Councilwoman Dixon, Public Relations and Historical Archives.
It's good evening. Interestingly enough, I'm listening to all of the committees that need people, and I'm thinking, okay, the archives have got a need for two, because the terms of some members who were absent most of this year expire in December, and Pat Ryan has said she does not want to serve again, and as far as I know, Jeff hasn't heard from the other person. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. And so that's something that and I was getting nervous thinking, okay, so we had a nice young man at the meeting last week, and he's got written a couple of books on gardening and he's also done a lot of lecturing on historical exhibits, and he's got a great background for us, but it was also possible for you. So I'm waiting to see what he thinks after seeing through the meeting. We also had some concern still about the space that they're going to have with the library, because the space is not just for the time, what they have now and the storage they have now, because history keeps going. And so you need to look also how you're going to use the space and how much space you're going to have 10, 20 years from now, and not just this week. So that's something that's still being discussed a lot in the meetings. But the next meeting is not until January 8th, and a lot of decisions need to be made about the space about that time. But that's all I have to report.
It would be wonderful for the Historical Archives to find a new home, a permanent home that is worthy of housing our historical artifacts. So we all look forward to working that part of the library project out. All right, any other questions for Councilwoman Dixon?
I wanted to get some clarification. So you do have two openings?
Yes.
So anyone who is interested could do, as the president has referenced more than once tonight, to send a letter of interest to Jeff Smith to serve on the Historic Archives.
Yes.
Outstanding.
Very good, thank you.
All right, unless anybody else has a question or comment for Councilman Dixon, we will then move into our bookend public comment privilege before. Anybody who wishes to address council, come forward. Please identify yourself by your name and where you live, and you must take a cookie pursuant to Pennsylvania law.
Thank you, I didn't know about that.
Oh, yes, Anna.
Bob Diamond, 134 East 3rd Street. I did come up after I heard the comment about the new law about tax collectors. I did know about the law because I am, among other things, the secretary of the Delaware County Tax Collectors Association. And my only request was that they didn't go back to my teenage years. Just leave it at that. I know there was a lot of comments on the holiday parade, and I thought it was wonderful. I was amazed at the amount of people out on State Street. I hope we continue to do that.
On a Sunday.
Pardon me?
On a Sunday.
On a Sunday, yeah, whatever. It was great. It was super. And I know that at the end of the parade, I know that Santa Claus had a line out the door at Santa Claus Village. So that was nice. It was like maybe 30 families coming in to see him. I know Mrs. Claus probably had the best night of all because she had about 5 gentlemen pushing her up on the fire engine. So anyway, happy Merry Christmas. I'm sorry. What's that?
Santa Claus is working in the shop too much.
Yeah, this is true.
And it was caught on film also.
Yeah, right, yeah. Happy holidays.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Mr. Thompson. Does anyone else wish to address council at this time? Mr. Khan.
Zubair Khan, Executive Director for the Media Business Authority. Late news, that's why I didn't have the opportunity to reach out to our liaison, Lisa Johnson, but we received a news yesterday, on Wednesday, that Visit Philadelphia did a video for 90 seconds, and that shows the whole street of State Street, all lit up and beautiful. So I just wanted to announce that and let people to go to the site and take a look at State Street. It's one of the few suburban towns other than Wayne that was listed in that whole video. And it shows that how proud we should be of our State Street. If you haven't been to media, or if you haven't been in town, please come and see the beautiful lights on the building. Thank you very much.
What's the website, Zubair?
Visit Philadelphia.com. It's the same website that picked us for the New Year's Eve at number 13. I'm pretty sure that's the website that I just wanted to make sure that. And we do spend quite a bit of money to make it look that nice.
It was mentioned. VisitPA.com.
VisitPA.com. So that's the place to go to see.
That's the place to go and take a look at the video. It's 90 seconds, and I know the mayor would be very interested in it because he likes that kind of stuff. And happy holidays and Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Zubair. Appreciate that. Everyone should come out and take a look at media, whether residents or non-residents. It's just a wonderful, wonderful time of year to come and visit. All right, unless anybody else wishes to address council at this time, I will attend it. I'm behind the times here. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. All right, we are adjourned. Happy holidays to all.